Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to transform a boring old IKEA dresser just like this one and turn it into something that looks more high-end and is completely custom to you and your style. The way that we're going to be doing that is by using these panels from Makeover. Thank you to Makeover for sponsoring today's video. We will have more on this in just a little bit. Now before we can get into the fun stuff like the design portion of this makeover, we've got to get this piece prepped so that it's ready for paint. The first thing that we're going to start off with is taking off this hardware. We can actually just set this hardware aside because we're going to be using something completely new. For the most part, when it comes to taking off the hardware, I just like to use a screwdriver. A lot of the times this hardware has never been taken off, so the screws are usually pretty loose. There are those rare occurrences though where sometimes I will have to pull out a drill and unscrew it that way because the screws are still super tight. Using a drill goes a lot faster, but I'm just used to using a screwdriver instead, and that's why I do it that way, but you can definitely use either or. It just really depends what you have on hand. I like to use a screwdriver also because it shows people that you don't need those expensive tools to do most of these makeovers. Okay, so now that all of this hardware is off, the next thing that we can get into is cleaning and wiping this piece down. I just like to use warm water in this bucket and Dawn dish soap. I like to use Dawn dish soap because most people already have that or something similar in their homes already. It's super easy to use and it really does cut down on the dirt, the grease, the grime, just about everything. Just make sure that after you are done cleaning with Dawn dish soap that you go back with just regular water and rinse it down, because if you don't do this you may see soap residue left behind and you definitely don't want that when you go to start painting. Now, as I mentioned before, I do want to change out the hardware on this dresser, so I am going to be using this plastic wood to fill in the existing hardware holes. I don't want to give too much away, but I am going to go from the 2 screw to just 1 knob. So we definitely got to get the existing hardware holes filled and the new ones drilled. I like to do this part pretty early on in the makeover just because it can take quite a while for this stuff to dry. Not only that, but sometimes you do need 2 coats of this, and I don't want this to be the reason that holds the rest of the makeover back. So it's typically something I do right after cleaning, and I'll make sure to check in on it pretty often so that I can sand the excess down as soon as it's dry. So now that we have some time for this wood filler to dry, let's talk a little bit more about Makeover. Makeover is a company that creates decorative panels. These panels come in many patterns and sizes. They are well known for transforming IKEA pieces into something completely unique to fit your style without breaking the bank. Some of my favorite designs are from the Jasmine line, and I also really like the Rex line. In fact, we're going to be using some panels from the Rex line today. Now, what's really cool about Makeover is that you aren't limited to using these panels on only IKEA pieces. This dresser is similar to IKEA, but it isn't actually an IKEA piece. Yet I was simply able to customize the panels that I wanted to fit onto this dresser. Makeover allows you to do that on actually any piece of furniture. So if it's IKEA, it'll work. If it's similar to IKEA, it'll work. But even if it's just one of those old real wood dressers, they can customize those panels to make them work for your piece. But they're not limited to just that either. You can use these panels on kitchen islands, accent walls, or even doors. Basically, if you think it, they can do it. These panels are super lightweight, they're paintable, and they're really easy to attach. I'm going to show you guys how to do that as soon as we get this piece sanded down. They are also a woman-owned business, which is super special to me. I think it's so important that women support women, especially in business. Make sure to check out My Overlays for all of their patterns and kits to transform your next project, and thank you to My Overlays for sponsoring today's video. It's the next day, so this wood filler is definitely dry now, which means that we can get this piece sanded down. When sanding this piece down, our two objectives are to sand down the excess wood filler, but also give this piece a good scuff sand so that it's ready for paint. A good grit to use when scuff sanding is between a 220 to a 400 grit. I'm going to be using a 220 today for this dresser. Recently, I bought an attachment for my sander that actually hooks my sander straight up to my shop vac, and I found this to be the easiest way to sand this piece down in an enclosed area. I don't have the garage doors open or anything, which is perfect for winter coming here in Minnesota. This also means that I don't have to use a respirator at all because all of the dust goes straight from the sander and then gets sucked up by the shop vac, which just makes sanding so much easier. So now that this piece is completely prepped, we can actually start working on the fun part, which is the design. I'm gonna go ahead and get all of these drawers pulled out so it's a lot easier to work on them. And then we're gonna finally put those panels to good use. Okay, so these panels are actually really easy to attach. Really all you do is you lay it down flat on the drawer how you want it. You glue one side and then flip it over so that it sticks. And I'm gonna be using the Gorilla wood glue to do that. And then just to make sure that it holds, this might be an extra step, but I just wanna make sure that it holds really well. I'm just gonna be clamping them down with some mini clamps. And then after a couple of hours, they should be stuck on the door faces and ready to be painted. I'm really excited to get these on, so let's get started. This DIY project is so easy, literally anyone could do it. There's only 4 simple steps. Number 1, you choose your piece that you want to use the panels on. Then 2, you pick which panel design or kit you want to use. And 3, you glue it on and you paint if you choose to. You don't have to. But then number 4, you enjoy your brand new piece. It is so simple. You can see that I'm also kind of spreading the glue around once I have it on the panels. I find that this actually makes the glue adhere more to the surface once it's kind of spread around a little bit more. And now just like that, one is done. That's just gotta dry and we gotta do the rest. It's now been a couple hours since I got the panels glued on, so they're completely dry, which means we can get started on painting. For paint, I'm going to be using this beautiful blue color from Valspar. I actually got it in the Oops paint section, so it was only $9 for this entire gallon, and I think it's gonna look really good on this piece. I'm gonna be switching off between my roller and paintbrush for this project. I'll get it done a lot faster on all the flat surfaces rolling, but it'll be much easier to get into any of the curves with the brush. I'm assuming I'm gonna need 2 to 3 coats on this project, so let's get this paint poured. I guess you could say that this is more of a green color than a blue. In fact, I'd say it's pretty close to more of a sage green, but it is a really beautiful color. I absolutely love how this piece turned out with this color and the panels that I chose. You can see on this first coat of painting the drawers, I kind of just used my roller, but then on the second coat, I went back with my brush to get into all those corners that my brush couldn't get into. I gave the first coat a few hours to dry, but after it was dry, then I started on the second coat. I did end up needing 4 coats of paint to reach full coverage. But now that this dresser does have full coverage, it's absolutely stunning. Here's the hardware that I am going with this dresser. Now let's get into that final reveal.